Okay, everybody, I don't want to take up too much time with this, but this is it, the opening of Mastering Manga 2. Just got my first sample copy in the mail. We'll pop it open and have a look at it. Oh my goodness. There it is, folks. Mastering Manga 2. Awesome. I'm going to do another video where I actually show the interior of it. But you were there at the unveiling. Let's go ahead and bring out this little baby over here. Put them side by side. Oh, Mastering Manga and Mastering Manga 2. Thanks for sharing this moment with me. Let's get on with the video. Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another how to draw video, or actually a how to add coloring to a drawing video. And we're going to be comparing marker coloring with colored pencil coloring. Now I'm beginning with the exact same drawing pretty much here, a drawing of a manga eye. And if you want to follow along with this, I have another video that shows you step by step, all in real time, how to draw this particular eye. I'll go ahead and link to it right now. Of course, the link will only work if you have your annotations switched on. Otherwise, you can do a sort of YouTube search to find it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and refocus the camera and begin adding a marker coloring to this eye right here. All right, so I'm beginning here with a Copic marker to put down a light color. I'm actually going to be mixing together two different types of markers here. Scandalous. But many of you may know that I'm not a big marker guy. I don't have a huge set of Copics. I kind of have a ragtag assortment of different ones that I've picked up over the years. In any case, this is a nice pale ochre kind of a color. I think, generally speaking, you're going to begin light and then go dark. Now, I'm working back into it here, sort of doing a second layer. And this just makes it a tiny bit darker. And I know that the Copic marker fans out there swear by these markers, and I can kind of see why. They're very easy to use and smooth, and they blend together quite nicely. But as I said last week, they're very expensive. And part of the reason I'm doing this video is to show you that colored pencils, which are much less expensive, can get you pretty close to the same result. Not identical, but pretty close. So anyway, I've done quite a lot, and this is my theory. Do as much as you can with one single marker to begin with. Get as close to your finished product as you can in that first go. And then on top of that, when you start building to the next color, your results should be, you're that much further along, rather than switching constantly from one marker to the other. Just my technique. Don't want to say that this is the only way. Now, so I've switched now to a touch marker from Shinhan, which is just a slightly darker ochre color. And you're just going to see me continue to try to build towards a finished level of darkness. The way I like to color in a manga or anime style eye is to get the upper edge of it fairly dark compared to the lower part of it. You can also see that I create some banding around the whole edge of the iris. But I think, I'm a big fan of watercolors. I decided not to use watercolors for this video, try to keep it simple. But I can sort of understand why beginning artists especially may prefer markers over watercolors. Watercolors can be a little hard to control. I think they seem messy, but you may find that if you go back and give them another try and practice with watercolors, that they're not as messy as you imagine them to be. Anyway, I'm switching back to another Copic here. A sort of a darker brown. Generally speaking, you want the pupil in the middle to be the darkest part. And I keep wanting to sort of make more of a gradual change here from the black of the ink to the browns that are coloring it in. I like when they sort of begin to merge together, almost. Now I feel like there's not quite enough variety in color here. It all looks very yellowy to me. So I am going to try, at the risk of messing things up, to switch to a touch marker that is more of a reddish brown. And what I'm going to attempt to do, actually, is to achieve something that is often done with watercolors, whereby you are mixing two different inks together and allowing one to blend into the other. Let's see if I can begin to pull this off. So I go right in on top of it while it's still a little bit wet, and hopefully I can begin to get a gradual fade going on here. A little tricky, I must admit. But I am trying to achieve some sort of gradual fading of one color into the other. I think they have like blending pens or markers or something like that, that the whole purpose of it is to allow you to blend things more gradually. But like I say, I'm not a big marker guy, and maybe I do need to explore that a little more. I just don't like the idea of blowing a whole lot of money on one of these huge sets of markers, and I'm aware that I have viewers of these videos who similarly just cannot afford to spend $100 or more on a set of Copics, or even the less expensive brand can still be quite pricey. But yeah, there we go. We're getting a little bit of a blending action going on there. And in a way, you know, this video, even if it says that it's how-to, like I said, I don't consider myself an expert in markers, so in a way it's sort of like, watch me experiment, watch me continue to refine my own marker technique, rather than, hey, you guys should all color exactly the way I do. Anyway, I think we're getting pretty close to the look that I wanted to achieve there. You can see that my approach is to keep at it and keep blending and keep sort of refining. I'm sure a lot of people go through the process considerably faster than that. But let's go ahead and shift over to the colored pencil side of things and see how that technique works. Okay, so I'm going to begin kind of with a similar process, this time colored pencil, Prismacolor, beginning with the lightest shade first. And I suppose one difference might be that when I'm doing colored pencil, I feel that I have kind of absolute control and can very gradually build towards a finished result, right? And see how this fades off into white? Very hard to do that with marker. Marker is generally going to have some kind of an edge to it that needs to be either continued to the end or, like I said, maybe using one of these blending tools. You may be able to create something similar to this. But I just feel like for the beginning artist, colored pencil is a great option just in terms of being able to incrementally build towards your final result. And also, like I said, a little less expensive. People all may have problems with the lead staying sharp. A lot of people... actually, I see in the comment sections of my videos, you know, how do you keep your pencils so sharp? And talk about a very humble device. This sort of cheap pencil sharpener. That's all I'm using these days. Very portable. You can see that I do put a rubber band around it, because sometimes you forget and this thing pops off and you end up with a mess of colored pencil shavings. So I feel like I've got enough of that lighter tone, and I'm going to move up to just a slightly darker ochre color here. I think I'll go ahead and maybe get a base layer going here for the pupil, although I need that pupil to go quite a bit darker, so I don't want to go into that too much. But I'm going to begin to gradually darken to a mid ochre. a mid ochre. You start with this sort of light ochre, and you build toward the mid ochre. Everybody in New York is like, we do not talk like that. Crilly, please. Anyway, gradually, I just do love having that feeling of control, of being able to work at it little by little. And I guess a lot of these coloring tools, it comes down to your own temperament and how you like to work. I mean, some people might look at what I'm doing here and saying, oh, it's so slow, it's so time-consuming, come on, let's move on. In which case, yeah, you may end up being more of a marker person. Other people might say, oh, how wonderful to be able to get to it little by little and have, as I say, this sort of sense of absolute control, of not having to risk very much because you're getting there little by little and you can change your mind and so forth. And whereas marker, I think you are more likely to kind of find yourself having gone a little too dark with marker and feeling like, oh man, this thing got out of control for me in a way. I lost control of the illustration and it went too dark too quickly. I'm switching now to a sort of darker brown, which I'm going to go ahead and jump over here. Just sort of a reddish brown, actually. Both with markers and colored pencils, you often find that, you know, the color that's on this outside part here is not necessarily exactly the shade that you get on the paper. And it can throw you off a little. So you have to kind of get used to it. You have to become familiar with your own pencils and markers to, and sometimes even with like a test sheet of paper to say how, what is the actual color as opposed to what they've labeled it, you know. And there's probably limitations in terms of the manufacturing process as to how close they can get this outside covering to exactly match the color inside. Yeah, come to think of it, I bet the manufacturers of colored pencils and markers really struggle with that, trying to get the plastic or whatever coating to accurately reflect. So you can see now I'm beginning to connect to that earlier shade. And this is one of the advantages I find of colored pencils, is being able to do this very slow blend. Now, the trade-off is, of course, you end up with a very smooth area of color with marker. I think some people would say it looks more professional. You're always going to have a little bit of a trace of the human hand at work when you're using colored pencil. It's hard to make it, to hide the evidence of your pencil strokes completely. But you can see that's why part of my reasoning for going so slowly is to try to little by little camouflage those, early pencil markings. I'm switching now to a very dark, hopefully. Very dark. There we go. They do crumble sometimes. Prismacolors, probably any colored pencil. So you have to be careful with that. But I've switched to the darkest brown that I'm probably going to be using to complete that that little fade. And in a way, I think this whole thing of showing this gradual transition from a brown down to a yellow ochre is maybe going to be the focus of this part of the video. I can see right now that to do the entire thing real time is maybe a step too far with people like, Crilly, will you please get on with it? I always feel like I know that some people don't mind this. I'll watch a 50-minute video of you just talking. You can see here I feel a little more confident with this section, the pupil area, to go quite dark. And but I'm now going to switch back to this more reddish one. So as to match the earlier effect that I was getting with the markers. So anyway, hopefully that tells you all you need to know about the two different techniques, at least my way of using them. Short but sweet, you could say. Colored pencils, you have this gradual approach, you have a lot of control, but it is very slow and kind of painstaking, and that might drive some people crazy and say, oh boy, I can't work with that, and give me the markers. Of course, the advantage is in cost, right? That the colored pencils, generally speaking, are going to cost you a whole lot less than the markers. Otherwise, I wonder if you did a side-by-side comparison in terms of how long they last before you need to replace them, or at least replace the ink. In the case of the markers, I wonder who would win that battle. I sense that a marker covers more territory than a colored pencil, certainly with a single stroke, right? But over time, as you sharpen the pencil, you are making it smaller and smaller until eventually you reach a point where you can't use it anymore. So, yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. I think maybe the marker might win in terms of, square footage of color that you produce with each one that you buy. I'm not sure about that, though. I feel like I kind of use color, with the exception of my black Prismacolors, I feel like I use colored pencils over a period of years, and that they do last for quite a long time. But as I say, I think that maybe it's time for me to kick it into time-lapse to finish this one off so as to not bore everyone to tears. But then I'll come back and have some final words to say about these two different coloring techniques. All right, well, there you have my video comparing colored pencils with markers. Really, you don't have to choose between one and the other. I think really what you want to do is become good at both, and then you choose from one project to the next. And as many of you know, I sometimes mix and match, combining colored pencils with watercolor or markers all in one illustration. But let me go ahead and thank anyone who has supported me by getting any of my books. We got The Brody's Ghost and the Miki Falls graphic novel series, as well as Mastering Manga 2 and Mastering Manga 1, my How to Draw books. I do greatly appreciate anyone who has supported me by getting any of those books, but let's go ahead and lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.